Hey, peace, beautiful people. This is Real Talk with DP and Dev, and we are live right now. I just want to say thank you for another episode of Real Talk with DP and Dev. I am Dev. This is DP, and we actually have a special guest with us today. Shout out to the queen of this household. We are currently in C&D Lounge right now, which I affectionately call it, even though it's Delonte in Chelsea's basement. And let's talk about it because we're talking with Chelsea right now, and of course we're going to introduce her. This is Chelsea Peterson.
Hi.
And she is an interior designer, and today we're going to talk about interior design and how it actually affects the mood of a person, or how it actually makes an impact on real estate, and so on and so forth. And we just want to dig right in. But before we do that, DP, do you got anything to say to the people?
No, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. And we're going to try to give you as much important and useful information as possible. So
yes. So let's get right into it. Let's dig right in. Chelsea.
Let's go.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm great. I'm here with you guys. So.
That's what's up. That's
exactly.
What's up. Yes. So look, I want to dig right in because one of the questions that I had was I needed to know the difference between something. Now, interior design consultant and interior design concierge. So I have an idea on what that is.
Okay.
But when I think of the concierge service, I'm thinking of it, okay, if I was to come to you as a client, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm moving from New York to Atlanta. And I have no clue on what I want in terms of an interior design, what I want something to look like, even down to the furniture. But I have this budget and I want to give you this budget, and I'm giving you direction on how I want my space to look based on what I'm thinking. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
And that is what you
on the concierge service. Okay. Exactly.
Right, so let's dig right into that. Let's talk about what it is that you do and talk about that.
So when you think about, we'll start with consulting and why I did two categories.
All right.
So consulting is kind of hitting on the real estate that you guys talk about. Is you might be doing a remodel, or as we do at C&D Peterson, a total flip.
Right.
And so design comes in not only about the structure, but to look at the space of how it's going to flow. So should we put a wall here, solid wall, because the TV needs to go here, and different aspects and nuances. So that's consulting, where you walk the property, you give advice, you help with floor plans, and then you just kind of give a visual of what that looks like.
Right.
Now, to your point, concierge service, that has just stemmed from this culture of, I need it now.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
And so you're right. You could come and say, hey, I'm relocating. These are some of the spaces that I looked at or areas. Here's my budget. Ready by X.
Okay.
And so, we go in, we could acquire the property, work through that process, design it, give you ideas about it from that standpoint. Yep. And then, or you just say, hey, you've got free reign. I'm moving in, I'm bringing my clothes and my pictures, and let's go.
Dope.
Like for instance,
all right,
the house
with your boy?
Landon, that was a quasi concierge because he was like, here's the budget, in which it was no budget. It was like, how much you need.
Right.
And like,
how exciting was that for a designer, right?
We're gonna get into that too.
This is what's needed, and he's like, okay. And she just maybe sent him ideas or stuff, and like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Point blank. It wasn't somebody watching you saying, no, not that, not this. So it wasn't somebody actually picking each and every item.
Right.
Like, this is
what I recommend based on.
Yeah. Right. So it was. I mean, because that was like the first time. Because when we do stuff, it's like budget.
The budget. Right. Exactly. And it is that, and it's different levels. So you might already have a home.
Yeah.
And you're stuck. That's concierge too, where you know what, I've got this house. This is the feel or look that I want. Go. Let's put some boards together, and then you sign off on that. And again,
when you say boards, what do you mean by boards?
So they're design boards.
Design boards, right?
So, and so it gives you this feel of what the material will look like. It's something that you can touch, really look at. And then it helps you give kind of what this concept is going to look like in your house, and what these materials are going to be.
Okay. So let's backtrack a little bit because, Chelsea, you have a very significant and important job in corporate America, right? So how did you get into this you do now, and what made you lean towards this to be like, you know what, this is something I may want to focus all of my energies on now, as opposed to what it is that you was doing your day job?
Right. Well, I would say design has been just that thing. You know, I have friends that will tell you all the way back in college, they used to call me the hostess with the mostest.
Got it. Okay.
So, you know, I was designing on a budget where people would come over to a dorm room or apartments from that standpoint.
Yeah.
So it's always been that passion or, you know, that driver.
Okay.
And so now you give me a platform where I would do it personally or for friends, to now I get to do it repeatedly with C&D,
Right.
to now let's focus on that. But I will say the biggest driver, I mean, you guys have been with, you know my husband. And so as an entrepreneur, there is no way that I could walk away from this and not, you know, he helps, you know, motivate me, drive me from that standpoint, but also give me guidance in that standpoint.
Right.
And at some point, corporate has the, you know, one of the things that, you know, we have recently been talking about is, you know, if I showed up corporate for umpteen years, if I gave that energy to my own, what would that look like? And so that's been kind of that switch that has gone on. Like, how do you put that to the forefront versus the corporate America piece of it?
Let's say that again. So you said that if you put the energy that you put into where you are, because your position is significant. So if you was to put that energy into entrepreneurship and what you're doing,
that's right,
you probably will receive not even the same results, better results than what it is that you're doing.
Exactly. You know, all that I've learned over these 20 plus years, how do I apply that? You know, I know about budgeting. I know how to go after this advertisement, branding. So now how do I apply that to our personal versus, you know, I show up for, you know, corporate every day and help them drive and hit their, you know, mission statements and vision statements.
Okay. So let's talk about when you go into a project, you know, what drives your design decisions? You know, what are some of your biggest inspirations when you're actually going into designing a space?
It really is around the client.
Okay.
You know, and walking that with them. So how do you want your space to feel? Kind of what, you know, is your inspiration from that standpoint? So it starts there from just what does the client want? Now, I may push them out their comfort zone a little bit and, you know, give some suggestions, but ultimately, I think success in a job is that the client walks in and is like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted, or God, I didn't even think it could look like this.
So what are some of the questions that you ask?
So the first one is, you know, what do you want to feel when you come into this room?
Okay.
You know, what are some of the, you know, from that feeling, then we can start talking about colors. You know, how are you going to use this room from that standpoint? And even around, you know, in your wildest dream, you know, what do you see for this space? You know, and I think out of those three questions, as you continuously talk through that, because somebody could say, well, you know what, I want this to be a sense of calm. So what does calm mean to you? Right. You know, or, you know, this is, you know, we use the basement. Like this is, you know, coming out of COVID, this is our entertainment space. And so we wanted it to be comfortable, functional, but yet this space where we really could congregate and gather, you know, from that standpoint. So
that's dope. You have a question?
Yeah. I'm learning too.
Oh, okay. So all right. So let's break down the scenario, right? So I come here, I tell you what I want based off of our conversation, and it's going in a direction for you to be like, all right, I can work with that. But then I say something where you have to make a decision whether it's aesthetically pleasing or it functionally works. Like, how often do you have that battle where it's like, okay, aesthetically this is dope, but I don't know if this is really going to function properly, and how do you handle that?
So there is some things. One, you have to pick your battles. Like, what do you truly fight for in the design? You know, we can go back to the property, Eagle Landing. There were some things in there that I just would not have done.
Okay.
You know, I'm like, wow,
are we talk about it?
Really doing that color?
All right.
Wow, that just distracts. Like, you know, hey, you want to go for the sleek, modern design, but you got this yellow. You know, and it just takes away from this money that you spend on your floors and your fixtures and this beautiful granite countertop, you know, from that standpoint.
Part of that is because someone else had already started the project. So when I came in,
you're doing rework.
Colors were already there, and he bought into the colors. He chose the colors, so he's not going to say no. He didn't say no. I don't want those colors in, because of the time frame. I didn't want her or I to have to fight him on, yeah, let's change his colors, because now it's adding to the schedule.
Right.
And he had a date that he needed it done before Thanksgiving. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you was already dealing with a pretty tight
Right.
schedule, but also a very alpha A type personality too that you had to really.
Correct, definitely.
Yeah.
That's the way the politically correct way to say it.
Well, you know me.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Exactly.
You know. Anyway, all right. So
Yeah.
so back. So so you run into that situation. Do you say like, okay, look, I know. Well, you say you pick your battles. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to be like, look, I love the direction you're going. However, this may not work, and here's why.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think about, we've got plenty of examples with me and Delonte, just
right,
because I always go in looking from a design aesthetic.
Yes.
He goes in looking from a functional construction.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I would just have to say, well, this is why we need this.
Okay.
Because when a buyer comes in, they're going to see this wall that we have added as an accent. Is it functional? No. Will the wall be great? Yes. But just that little extra is going to catch the buyer, that they're going to remember that space. And even with, a client, it is around, sometimes you have to show them the visual or the physical of, hey, let's just do a swipe of this color.
Okay.
I know you love this color,
right,
but let's look at it on your wall.
Right.
Live with this for 24 hours, 48 hours. Let the sun hit it. And you'll be amazed just in that moment. That swatch looks great, but now I've seen it on my wall and it's like, nope, Chelsea, you were right. Or let's go some other direction from that standpoint.
Right.
And so, it is around that. But if they're really passionate about it,
yeah,
then you try to work it into design. I might alter something else to make that work a little better.
Okay.
Versus, I don't want anyone to walk in a space and it's, oh, well, Chelsea said I need to do this. It's really around that collaborative, and also really just bringing their vision to life. It might look a little different, but the feel should still be there, when they come into the space.
In that same vein, have you ever had a situation where the client just wanted what they wanted and you was like, all right, I don't think this is going to work, but I'm going to go ahead and roll with it. And then when it came out, you was like, you know what? This actually worked out. Have you ever had a situation like that?
I've had that a lot.
Okay.
In the sense of, even with just working with, sometimes family around. So at that point, it's like, hey, we still got to have this conversation because it's professional.
Right.
But, just pushing them there, or, me and Delonte have gone back and forth around the space, especially when it's an investment property, right? Because he's still thinking about the budget. Right. And I'm still thinking, well, if we spend a little extra, I think we can get this. Right. And it is around, sometimes you have to go through the process. Okay. You have to see the finished product from that. A good thing of that is something we're sitting on right now is this bench.
Yes. This is a dope bench.
Thank you very much. But it was this, hey, we're going to build this banquette and it's going to be this tall and this wide and the look was like, really, Chelsea, we really going to do that? But now that it's here,
yeah, this is one of the main things.
Right. Now that it's here, it's truly one of those things of, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
And sometimes people get that at the beginning, sometimes through the process, but definitely at the end, you just really want them to get it and feel great about it.
I feel like you guys are teaming up.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because now I want to bring the both of you in as a team, because before we actually got what we were doing, it was C&D. So one of the things that's very important and significant when you're actually doing a flip and you're trying to sell a home is the interior. Right?
That's right. So
what is that dynamic like with you two, and how do y'all go into a project? You're like, okay, from A to Z, this is how we're going to approach it. How does that work?
So usually it's like, I'll go and I'll measure, take all the details of the house.
Yep.
And I'll come back and I'll put it on the software, and we'll put it on the TV screen, mirror the laptop screen to the computer screen. Okay. And then I'll come up with the design, and then she'll be like, no, we need to move this wall here, or move the bathroom here. This room needs to be the master, not that room. Because most of these houses, older houses, right, they did not have a master bathroom. So now we're going to have to take 2 bedrooms and create a master bathroom, master suite. Right. You know what I'm saying? So that's how it usually starts. And then once we get to a certain point, then we give it to the architect. Let them run with it from there. Now they got a floor plan that we see things that flows. So once they come up with their idea and their final drawings, or their first set of drawing, then we go through and we mark it up and say, hey, this won't work. And then we send it back to them and they do the final. And then, and you're always going to have stuff in the field that's, when it's on the drawing, it looks great. But now when you get in the field and you're actually doing it, hey, that's just not going to work.
Right.
So,
yeah. And so once that's starting, because construction takes a little while, then now we're doing research.
Okay.
So are we competing with new construction? What is the house that sold for the most? What was their features?
Right.
What was their color palette? What is the color palette? And then you start filtering that in. Okay, so we're going to compete with new construction. This is not a new house. It will be in a sense of depending on where the rehab is, but how does that compete where they're not even thinking that it's new versus this house was built in 1930s or something. And so then we go into stuff like that. And so once we do that, think about the plan, the coloring, I mean, all the way out to the landscape, as a part of the design from that standpoint. But you just go through that, and then what kind of cabinets. So it's all that process. And then by the time he's ready to start measuring cabinets and things like that, that's when we sit down and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is our color form, but for C&D, for our the exterior, we have a brand. There's a color that we pick that if you see our houses, it's
what it is.
That's what it is.
Right.
Like, hey, that's probably a C&D house right there.
And so is it that blue?
Yeah, that bluish gray hue. We use that on all our houses and even on our rental properties.
Right.
That hint is there just to be our signature from that standpoint.
I want to talk about that because one of the things that really is significant for people are colors and lighting, right?
Yes.
So how do you you already said that you use that blue as far as your brand, but do you ever take into consideration the colors inside the house to make sure that the mood is going to be a certain way for somebody to come in?
Exactly. Anything we do, color, even tile is around, you think not only just for the now, but wow, I've got this tile that is pretty neutral. So if in 5 years, the owner wants to change it, they can already see where I can change this down the line,
right?
From that standpoint. But we do kind of think of what is trending, but what also is classic.
Okay.
And so what is that? So we might trend, say, with a fixture, because you could easily turn that. We would never trend with putting in some weird tile that's in now, because tile takes effort to take off the wall.
Absolutely.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's things like that. And if we were to get funky with a color, it would probably be an accent.
Okay.
So even as a homeowner, you can change that if after some years.
Right. Right. So if somebody want like a burnt orange.
Exactly.
We just gonna use that as an accent.
Yeah, burnt orange and Bridgewater.
Right. Sure. All right. Cool.
Carla just said just experienced that color disaster.
Really?
The home that I just did the pictures of that nice bathroom.
Yeah.
This lady picked up this blue, and nothing that she bought for her furniture goes with the blue. So we had to repaint the whole house because she picked out the wrong color.
But wait, she picked the color out, and gave it to your crew to go ahead and paint it.
Yeah.
But she didn't have the furniture yet.
She got the furniture. She thought the color was going to get different. Look, once it's on the wall, and what she was saying about
So that goes back to
exactly.
the swatch on the wall.
She did not test it.
Right.
But once you give me the color, that's your decision. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I'm gonna run with what you tell me because everybody wants to be in the house now or tomorrow.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to paint one wall, then come back paint another wall the next day and let them make a decision. But we've been talking about this project for 3 months.
Right.
And you still got the wrong color.
Right.
You know.
Wow. That's tough.
So when you don't have a designer helping you do those choices, then you at your own risk, in which you got to spend the money to make it right if that's not what you can live with.
Right.
Because when I go home, I don't see your house. You know what I'm saying? I can't see your house.
Yeah, and that's kind of to Carla's point. You have to test that because I could go to your house and love a color.
Right.
And ask you for that name and get it and paint in my house, and it doesn't even look the same.
Yeah.
You know, color is sometimes even like a perfume, right? So it works for some people, it doesn't.
Right.
But it could be the lighting in your house, you know, some of the accents that you've put in there. And I think some people get caught up in, oh, I love that color.
Yeah.
And now they're run with it. And then so now it's like, oh, now in her case, wow, you know, now I painted the whole house.
Yeah.
That's different. It wasn't like a bathroom or this, like it was the whole house.
But that's a change order.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
They can't repaint for free.
Right.
And the crazy thing is, the first day after 1 or 2 rooms were painted, me and her husband was talking, and he was like, "Dang, I didn't know she was going with blue."
Right.
Like, oh, that's what she gave me. She gave
This
me.
is what the husband said.
Yeah. And it was like 2 or 3 days later, she said, "Well, I don't really think I like the blue."
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, your husband said he didn't know you were going with the blue. So you mean to tell me y'all never talked about, had a conversation between then and now? Because if you had stopped us then, it'd be much cheaper to just paint those 1 or 2 rooms.
Absolutely.
Versus painting the rest of the house. You know what I'm saying? But you know, that's what happens. You know?
Wow.
Because you don't test it.
Right. Yeah. So it's important. Make sure, so swatch on the wall first.
Exactly. It's
All right.
Because you're gonna paint the wall, test it out on the wall.
Right.
It's gonna be painted anyway.
Yeah, so. Exactly. And again, you know, because in the daylight it looks different than at night, depending on the lighting that you have. And
right. And then that's another thing, right? Because let's say for example, you put in LED lights.
Yeah, exactly. Now
as opposed to, you know, as opposed to regular incandescent light, you know, that's gonna show differently.
Exactly.
Okay. You just recently did a renovation or a redesign of our boys' doors.
Did you send me that by email or text?
Email, I think. Yeah.
Beautiful rendition.
That was fun.
What was did you meet with, you know, Marcus and Jamie to talk about what it is I want to do, or you just like, what was your thought and vision going into it?
Well, you know, definitely met with, you know, Jamie, just kind of like, hey, what are your thoughts?
Yeah.
You know, and Jamie was like, go with it.
Okay.
You know, from that standpoint, you know, I sent her some colors, you know, I will say there was one accent wall that I really wanted to do, and Marcus was like, no.
All right. Okay.
So, you know, it was one of those things like, no, we're not ready for that.
Yeah.
That looks a little bold from that standpoint. So it was that blend. And I will even say, as I got into space, some things had changed, you know, because it was like, now you're in the space and you're feeling the space. It's like, no, those curves are not going to work. We need a little bit more pop and do something a little different from that standpoint. So that was one of those things that, you know, I did have free reign, so I was excited, but definitely had showed Jamie every element, hey, this is what I'm thinking. And then she also has some surprises from that standpoint. So yeah.
In your portfolio that you have, right, do you have an area that you really like to focus on, like children's rooms or living rooms or kitchens? Is it anything, or is it just whatever the mood sets?
You know, right now, you know, I'm just about, I get excited about transforming a space.
Okay.
You know, so it doesn't depend on the space. Now, of course, with kids' rooms, you get real creative and you can get a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like I'm already, you know, anybody who knows Marcus and Jamie, Charlie is 2.
Yeah. I'm
already like, oh, when she turns 16, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that from that standpoint.
Spend some more Marcus money.
So I'm already down that road.
Right.
But it is around, you know, I think all spaces are fun. You know, kitchens are amazing, you know, just to see them come to life. Bedrooms are favorite because, you know, that's a place where you sleep at. And so you want that to be calming, you know, and even bathrooms, just to transform those. I mean, anybody that has seen some of our work, you know, we go all in, especially Carla's on with her towel. And, you know, me and Carla could probably towel a whole house, and not me, but Carla, but with designs and things like that. But it is around just transforming the space. You know, I am more about not necessarily space, but the reaction of the client when they walk in and see it for the first time.
That's awesome. And do you ever take into account, you know, like the feng shui of things and the positioning of furniture and stuff like that? Do you ever take into account that stuff, or not really?
Yeah, I don't know about feng shui, but it is around flow.
All right,
you know, anything that we set up, to your point, where would I sit my TV?
Okay.
So if we don't have a solid wall, now that everybody hangs a flat screen.
Right.
I know as a man, when he comes in, right, he's gonna be like, where am I hanging my TV?
Right.
And if he can't find that space, that house is already off the list. Now for kitchens, the flow of the kitchen, how do my cabinets look? female is going to come in and see, okay, so how am I going to use this space?
Right.
How am I going to entertain in this space?
Yep.
That's what she's looking at. If no TV is ever hung, she's not caring about that.
Yep.
It is really around that kitchen or even a bathroom, right?
Right.
Closets are big too for females around. So where am I going to put all my stuff at? Wait a minute, let me look at that. Even, they know these are older homes, but they're still expecting nice sized closets and some of that stuff to go after that.
Right.
Yeah, because you have buyers who don't buy your house because the closet is not big enough.
Yep.
We had one buyer who was like, "Can you move the bathroom so we
Right.
make the closet big?" No,
Right,
we're
right.
not moving the bathroom. And I was like,
No, that's not.
Are you crazy? Unless you're paying full price for the house, then we'll move the bathroom, but we need you to close first. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
Yeah. But you'll be amazed at the importance of that. And so again, you're not going to please every buyer, but how do we give a product that is going to really stand out for the majority?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I mean, you're just going to have some.
Okay.
That just like, I don't care what we do, they're not going to like it.
Yeah.
And I don't think, unless you build a house from
From
ground
the ground up.
it is not going to be perfect.
Yeah,
You're
this
going
is
to
true.
have to compromise on a couple of things.
And the reality is, if you're selling in the house, you only need one person to like it.
Right.
So you don't need 50 people to like it. You just need that one person who's actually going to buy the house from you and like it.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
If 1,000 people go to the house, if that 1,000th person likes it, you good. But if that first person like you, even better. Yeah.
Mhm.
You know?
So we talked about a sample board where you
Mhm.
got your materials, your colors, and everything else, right? The textures that you're going to use, it's carpeting and
Mhm.
things of that nature. Do you use any software when you do your designs?
So I do now, of course, with technology today, I mean, I
Yeah.
could sit here right now and design a board in probably about 5 minutes.
Right.
But, speaking of boards, another thing that has just come out of this culture that we're in now with COVID is e-design.
Yep.
And so what that really just gets you from a standpoint of, that's an electronic board.
Okay.
And so you put the design together and you can really show a client like, hey, this is all I need,
Yep.
lay it out how they should, they may want it from that standpoint.
Right.
But then from an e-design, if they sign off on it, then you send them the links.
Right.
They just go get everything. So
Nice.
now you sometimes don't even meet the client. It's really over email or back and forth on the board, but you might not ever see the space physically.
Okay.
They just would take pictures and you kind of give them.
And you just go off of that.
Mhm. So now you have physical boards, that I like because I like to feel the texture. I like to feel the tile.
Mhm.
There's e-design,
Mhm.
which I have done that before.
Mhm.
And then again, just kind of what is that medium between the comfort of the person, but also with e-design, I could design for somebody that's in California.
Right.
Never see them,
Right.
but they've got my design now because they contacted or reached out
That's
via
awesome.
email. Yeah.
Now, one of the things that we, let the viewers know when we was going through this was tips on how to actually renovate your space, whether it be a home or an
Mhm.
apartment,
Mm-hmm.
but on an inexpensive type
Mhm.
of
Mm-hmm.
budget.
Yeah.
What are some of the tips and tools and rules of thumb that you can give to the people?
Nah, I wouldn't know if I was to renovate, more like update.
Well, yeah, let's say update. Let's say
Update.
yeah. Let's do it. Let's say update.
We call it a refresh.
Refresh is good.
Yeah,
I like
you
refresh.
think about that. So, I mean, something as simple as when you think about inexpensive, depending on your space.
Yep.
So in the kitchen, you can go as simple as, I'm going to change the knobs on my cabinets.
Okay.
Totally changes the look.
Mhm.
Or do I install a backsplash? That's very easy. And then, with their bathroom, same things. Lighting is pretty inexpensive, although sometimes I get a little crazy with my
Jump
budget.
out the window when it comes to lighting?
Woo, yeah. And so, but think about bathrooms with fixtures, just changing that out. Paint is, I always think paint is an equalizer when you have the right color.
Okay.
It's amazing how paint can change your space,
Mhm.
if done right. But you think about that, yeah.
The average person can paint
Right.
1 or 2 rooms themselves.
Mhm.
If they are patient enough to tape up the baseboards and, tape up around the doors
Right.
and windows, because painting the wall is simple. Painting the trim is where
It's
you need
difficult.
like nice steady
Mhm.
hand. But if you tape everything up, you only got to paint the walls. You don't have to paint the trim.
Right.
But you got to spend the time to tape the trim so you don't have to worry about painting the trim.
Can we talk about paint real quick? Just a little education, like The difference between flat, satin, things like that.
I like flat because it hides all the imperfections in the wall.
Okay.
So you have an older house, you've had patchwork done to your walls, and especially if you're not the first owner, maybe you're not the second owner. There have been holes in the wall, something happened to the wall, and then patch the wall. So if you got flat paint, that patch wouldn't be that noticeable.
Okay.
The glossier the paint, the more noticeable the imperfections are in the wall.
Right.
So with the Section 8 houses, we do between satin and semi-gloss because you can wipe that off.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's better for us to be able to wipe something off because we not once we done the house up the first time, we're not worried about an imperfected wall because now we're worried about maintaining, you know what I'm saying, at least a certain level of look that, you know what I'm saying? But flat will hide anything, you know what I'm saying? So I would, if you got a lot of kids, if you got young kids, I would go with more of at least a satin.
Okay.
Because they're gonna put their hands on the wall.
Yeah.
It's more easier to wipe off, you know what I'm saying? So you don't have to you won't have to worry about painting.
Especially in high traffic places. Now this is one where I do pick my battles sometimes.
Go ahead.
Sometimes I do like the satin because of the sheen and shine on it. And the first thing it says, Chelsea, we cannot do that. There's going to be these imperfections. And so, you know, maybe we can put it in the bathroom or something like that where I get that sheen. And so I have learned from, you know, Delonte is, well, if we go flat, we can also do a high gloss on the baseboards. So it's kind of that compromise from that standpoint.
Like down here, we have the high gloss.
On the baseboards?
On the baseboard and the doors.
And the doors, but everything else is
flat.
It's flat.
And then looking back at it.
But in this case, you put the walls up, so you could have did semi-gloss or satin, right?
I could have done that.
Okay.
But now there's this new paint where it has scuff defense. So you can do a flat, and then it's more resistant to scuffs. You know what I'm saying? People rubbing up against the wall and this, that, and the other. So you don't have to worry about it. You get the same effect that you would get from a satin or semi-gloss. You know, you don't have to be cleaning it.
Yo, forgive me for jumping on the tangent with paint, but I know paint is.
Oh yeah.
You talked about paint.
That's right.
And somebody may ask, well, okay, well, if I want to get paint, they may not know what type of paint to get for whatever setting they're trying to.
Well, you know, I also have learned, even after you pick, you know, satin or flat, is invest in your paint.
Okay. Oh yeah, you have to pay.
You have to. I mean, because if you go with the cheapest level, because every time you go, they're gonna say, do you want this one or this one?
Right.
You know, if you get the cheapest one, you are going to paint multiple coats, you know, of paint. And so you know, it might be a couple of dollars more, but the labor you save and just investing in that piece of paint, you know, that more expensive paint goes a long way. But also, it just looks better on your walls.
All right.
So
So from an inexpensive perspective, you're saying change the knobs, right? Maybe change a couple of bulbs, right? And then
a couple light fixtures.
Couple light fixtures.
Change the doorknobs.
The doorknobs.
The doorknobs can make your room look different too. It'll make it look more modern.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you think about it. I mean, even if you're not going to sell your house, I look at it this way. You know, I don't have the same style of clothes I had 10, 15 years ago.
Okay.
Our house is 15 years old.
Okay.
And so there are certain things that were modern
back then
when they built the house that we have now come up. And so now our house can compete with new construction.
Right. We're
not looking to sell, but if you do that kind of, hey, maybe this is going to be my project this year, or I'm going to do this next year, or I'm going to paint. You know, if you do that, now you're not 10, 15 down, and now I've got to do everything in my house.
Right.
And so just keeping up with simple things like that, you know, and also, I'm a firm believer too, even if you're going to sell your house.
Yeah.
I'm not going to spend the last 6 months updating it for somebody else to live in the house.
Right.
You know, when you can change your granite now, or you can update your fixtures now. It's still going to be very nice when you sell. But now it's not the last 2-3 weeks. You're now doing all this stuff to make it, you know, more appealing to a buyer. You know, so do that stuff now and do some refresh and updates and things like that now, where it's not this constant, you know, oh my gosh, you know, we're going to do all these things.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, cool.
So even us, we've done new fixtures in some of the bathrooms that nobody else sees but who lives there.
Right.
New fixtures, which is faucets and shower faucets and vanity faucets, towel bars. But then the bathrooms that are common, that like this bathroom is brand new, and the
first floor,
that everybody uses when they come. The floor is new, but the tub and the cabinet is still the same, but the faucet and the countertop new granite and the sink is different. Yeah. So it looks like a different bathroom, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But a lot of stuff is still the same thing.
See, it's a mindset thing, right? Because, when you think about, the two most expensive areas to renovate is your kitchen and your bathrooms, right? So when you think about wanting to do something to upgrade, some people may have the thought like, oh God, I got to spend all of this money.
Right.
But it could be just gradual things. You can go pick up this here, pick up that here, and then.
Exactly.
But a lot of things people can do on their own, like changing the doorknob.
Oh yeah.
Right. Right.
We got Nicole, Jennifer, the counselor in the house, and her husband did a lot. Her husband did a lot on his own when they moved in their house a month or so ago. You know what I'm saying? So it's some stuff that doorknobs can be expensive, but like we did. I think we did the first floor.
Yeah.
Cause I was like,
and then we changed them.
Nobody's gonna
Well, you think about expensive though. I think in this day and time, it is so easy to search.
Okay.
And whereas if you've got a plan together, you might get something that, may come a little later that, I've searched that is not even here. You don't have to go to a Home Depot or this store or that store. But if you've kind of got a plan together, actually can search. There is nothing now that you can't search on the internet and it's to you pretty quickly. And so I would encourage people that way too. Even if you see it in Home Depot, search to see if you've got a better price. There might be a discount somewhere.
Market research.
Right. I think about Amazon and how they have come and some of the things. I mean, some comparables of, I might see a very high dollar light fixture on a very boutique. And I searched something that from the eye, you would not even tell the difference, but it came from Amazon.
Right.
And I would just encourage people to do that. You don't have to settle on, you might want something really nice, but oh my gosh, that's out of my budget. Do some research, take some time to do that. And I would say even in something as simple as changing out your knobs, just take your time.
Yeah.
I have learned to tape from my husband. Because I like that instant gratification too. Oh no, I'm gonna edge out. Nope. And it's like, oh no, I shouldn't have did that. But just take your time and plan out your project. Right. From that standpoint. And then when you step back, because if you see it and you're rushing just to get it done, it will come across that way. It's something's gonna be uneven, or the paint doesn't really look like you want, and now you're frustrated by, I've did this job or I've tried to do this and it doesn't really look as I expected. So I would say that's the other thing. Just take your time, plan your project. Yeah. It will pay out on the back end from that standpoint.
Nice. So the name of your business is?
Chavis Concepts and Design. Yep.
And they can reach you at?
So Instagram, I'm at Chavis Concepts and Designs. Website is chavisconceptsdesigns.com. And some of the things that I did a little unique is, so we're actually on TikTok. And so one of the things, I have a 13-year-old executive.
Okay.
That I hired and drove her to run TikTok. Because, with social media now, if you're not on social media, you're missing some opportunity from there. And so,
Yes, we are.
So Kennedy is my niece. She's 20. She is running the website.
Yeah.
And so we are really driving an entrepreneur spirit, and so she is going to run our websites. And Izzy is all of 13, running our TikTok. And in a short time of a month and a half, we have over 500 followers. So, these are young entrepreneurs. I mean, what a great way they're on these tools anyway. So really, putting them that way, and actually they boss me, I don't boss them, so from that standpoint. But we are on TikTok at See My Designs. But if you go to our website or Instagram, all those links are there to take you to the website, take you to TikTok, and vice versa. You can go the other way from that standpoint.
That is dope. Go ahead.
Let me ask you this. So if somebody had somebody lives in the house and they hadn't done anything since they bought the house 5 years ago.
Right.
And now they're like, okay, now it's time. I want to refresh my house. So you can actually, they can actually send you pictures. How do you know what their house look like for you to give them inspiration on how it should be?
Well, if I can't go in person, I would ask for pictures and different, now with the roll up, if you could just walk with your video, from that standpoint, and then I could ask some questions or say, hey, can you give me a closer picture of this? Right. I think it starts with either video or pictures from that standpoint. And then like I said, the next question is, so all right, when you walk into this living room, what are you using it for? What do you want to feel in that? I think in this day and age of we work so hard to come home and not be excited about your space, or this space doesn't feel great for you, then we're missing some opportunity from that way. But it starts with that picture, and then even send me, some pictures of, hey, this is my room. This is kind of how I want it to look like. And then we would talk budget.
So now you're talking about Pinterest.
So hold on. So you're good with doing that, because like there's scenarios where like somebody may go to the hairstylist, like a woman may go to the hairstylist. Like, yo, look, I'm not trying to. Don't kill me, people. I'm just giving an example. But it's because it happens, right? Like a stylist goes, like they'll go to a stylist and be like, look, I want my hair to look like this. Right. Like, but what you're saying is, my room is like this. I want it to look like that. You're okay with?
Well, we talk through it. And so what I would probably say is, so what do you like about this room?
Yeah.
When you look at this picture, how does it make you feel? That's what you want.
Yeah.
Because you might be looking at, you've got a traditional house and you're looking at this sleek modern where they got concrete. No, we're not going to do that.
That ain't going to work.
So what you're telling me is that you like the clean lines, you like that clean design, you like the calming colors, because we'll put some cement floors down, but that's going to cost some money. But it is more so around what made you stop on that picture? Okay. What does that color do?
Let's dive a little deeper.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
So somebody can contact you through Facebook, IG, whatever, and then they can send you their video or communicate with you. You guys they can be videoing while you're
exactly in the world of FaceTime and Dual. You could walk me through your room. Yeah. From that standpoint, I just think about technology has just gotten us such a far. You don't have to be in person. I go back to the example of you could design a space in a cabin in Alaska if you wanted to. From that standpoint, just walking through the room. Yeah. And then having those conversations. Yeah. Now I like the install. I think that was I think about Charlie's room. It was fun being in the space and being able to hang up everything and her come in periodically.
So we'll look at her Instagram to look at Charlie, because Charlie's room is awesome.
It is awesome.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I will put pictures on my page too.
Yeah. I don't think Charlie's gonna want to grow up.
But when she does, Marcus.
I just see money just flying out everywhere.
Well, it's just good to have an aunt that's a designer, so from that standpoint, right? But I mean, it's something as simple as that, And then I will say, when you think about the refresh, don't forget about the outside of your house,
right?
By refreshing your landscape, or just changing the door color. You don't have to paint the whole house. Just changing the door color and the knobs, going back to the handles, just changing those handles gives that whole of, appeal of, because I picked some colors for some doors that I just had to fight for. Like, nope, we're going to do this color. You have to trust me on this color, from that standpoint. Yeah. And then once it's up, it's like, okay, I get it. But, even if you didn't paint a house, if you just change that door color.
But you got to understand the door color is usually something off. It's totally, nothing goes with it at the time. Like we did I like the burnt orange one. Like Bridgewater, the Airbnb, it's like this sea blue.
It's Tiffany blue.
Tiffany blue.
Get it right now. Tiffany blue, brother. All right?
Now I'm thinking about it, this looks like a Tiffany box. Right. But it's that, and when she did it, I was like, nah. Because
you couldn't see
there was no pop to it at the time. Yeah. But now it's soft and it's mellow. You know what I'm saying? And people like it,
Yeah.
But those colors can be bold sometimes.
Oh yeah.
And you gotta be able to embrace it. I'm saying like, okay, I can get used to this.
What it also does is it's personality, right? It kind of shows
exactly
what the homeowner's personality is as well. So that's dope.
So when you go to this video tour of this house, so you give them a cost. And somebody say, "Oh, Chelsea, well, I got this 3-bedroom, maybe 1,500 square foot house, and so I don't want to do everything. I really just need the common areas, the foyer, the kitchen, living room, dining room, den area. I just need the stuff that everybody coming to. I can deal with other stuff later." So, do you put together how do you price it? Do you price it by room? Do you price it by?
I price it by project. From that standpoint. Project. So what is the project and the scope of the project from that standpoint? And then also some budget, because there might be some things of if your budget is this, but you want that, then we really need to have that conversation to get back. All right. So if this is your budget, what is your highest priority? Because this is not going to get done in that scope and, from that standpoint. So.
That sounds like some in construction too. As well.
Yes.
What do you take precedent? What takes precedent over everything else?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chuck, let me ask you. So for those who are watching who really love the concept of interior design but don't know how to get started, what would you tell somebody who's first?
Want me tell them?
No, I want her to tell them.
I can tell.
I don't want you to say. No, I want
you
to.
Did we say go to your website? Is that what we're saying?
Well, that too, but.
Well, I would say, I think with anything else, you do have to kind of have this passion or this innate ability to really be passionate about it. You asked me earlier around corporate America versus this.
Yes.
Design does not feel like work.
Okay.
How hard it is, how long we have to work sometimes, the back and forth, it does not feel like work when I'm in the process. So I would say it has to start with, don't think about it from a standpoint of, I want to do design because of this.
Right.
It has to kind of stem from that place of, this is something I'm really passionate about. I'm going to invest in and then drive from that standpoint. But there are so many courses out there if you need that, or if you want to challenge yourself from that standpoint. I really say just think about what your offerings are, because it could be different. Yeah. You think about design, it comes in a lot of forms and fashion. Like I said, there's landscape design. We hit on that a little bit. My brother Mike is probably the one that helps me with that. I just come and show it with 50,000 plants and be like, I want them here and here and there.
Right.
But, there's different elements of that. It could be that to your point, you only do kitchens, you only do this, or you only do refresh. It might be that you don't want to do anything major. And like I said, as we go after this concierge service, we truly can be that one-stop shop.
Yeah.
Between our portfolio of companies, we could go after some of that stuff, where you do contact us and we just say, okay, this is what we can do. Here's your budget. This is what we can offer. And you show up from that standpoint, like I said, with your bags or a little something else, from that standpoint. But I think it starts with a passion and like what really drives you. Because if you're only chasing the paycheck, you've already started wrong.
You started wrong.
Yeah.
Man, I had this client or a potential client that she has there was this couple, they have this designer around, and I've been dodging that phone call for like 2 months now.
Why?
Because I don't want to do the job. Because the designer has given some ugly products. They're like some real greenish green tile. And I'm like, that bathroom, even if that's in style, which I don't think it's in style now.
Right.
That bathroom's gonna be out of date in a year. Right. 2 years.
That's
it's green.
Yeah.
I'm like, why would you do this to them? Right. So you're gonna make them spend $15,000 on a bathroom that they're gonna be upset with me because they paid me whatever they're gonna pay me, and then they pay this designer to make those decisions for it.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, that's garbage.
Yeah. We think
I don't even want to pay that. Right. Regardless.
And that's saying a lot if, Delonte has a very strong opinion about it. So, but it is one of those things where you might be, I think around a trend that's coming back now where, the brush gold and the brass is coming back.
Yeah.
And so if you went full on, and I think about that because first thing we did here was take all that out.
Okay.
But if you have a couple of fixtures, that might be that. So if you lose the love of it, you only are changing that versus if everything in your house has now changed over to this new metal versus brush.
Yeah.
And you know, that's another thing where people get, oh, everything has to be, no, you can mix your metals. You can do black and you can do this and you can accent with that. But you know, it is around what is the trend and how you kind of fold it in versus that trend is driving your whole design.
That's dope.
You know.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. One of our cousin Tony. You need to have a consultation. You have a consultation with Tony because Tony is beginning of the year he's going to do his kitchen.
Okay.
Shout out to Tony.
Yeah, and that's Awa ala Siwi, whatever his name is on.
You should practice that.
Right.
Tony, I'm sorry.
But he's been talking about doing this, you know, because he's retired now, so he has nothing but time on his hands.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So he's about to redo his kitchen, and we had to take his sink out of his bathroom because he has his older pipes. He has an older house. So now he needs some stuff done. So now you need to call Tony so Tony can get your design services.
Right.
Because he needs it.
Right.
Because if Tony do it, Tony's gonna try to do some of the stuff himself, and it's gonna be jacked up.
Tony,
and, you know, his dog died the other day, so now he needs to redo the floors.
So Tony, holla at Chelsea.
Right. Exactly.
Y'all go ahead and make that happen. Also, shout out to Tyrone for his comment too.
Big Ty wouldn't stay with us.
What up?
Back home from Eugene, South Carolina. I was like,
what up, Bulldog? What up, alumni? We appreciate you participating in the chat tonight.
Ty, shout out to me. So let me know what you got going on, and you know what I'm saying, Chelsea can put something together for you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
saying? So look, Chelsea, is there anything else you want to give to the people before we wrap up for tonight?
You know, again, your space, you should love your space. You know, and I truly believe that all things are beautiful. Sometimes you just have to, you know, enhance them. And so, you know, in a space that you're currently in, if you're not loving it, you know, just take some time to step back. And so what can you refresh or what can you do and turn it into that? You should never walk into a space and not be excited about it.
Dope.
Let me make this statement also.
Please. Don't get us fired. Come on.
You know, and this is for like single men out there who got their own, many who have their own space. We sometimes is 100% functionality. We don't need anything that's, you know, very pretty and nice and this, that, and that. We just want it to work. For the most part. We want it to work. You know what I'm saying? So what do you say to men who are just, you know, they're single, they don't have these different colors in the house. Their house still got that off-white. They still got the basic stuff. You know, they just moved in and it is what it is.
You know, it goes right back to that same question of what do you want your space to feel like when you come in? And so you do know design is not all frills and colors. You know, design could be functionality, but instead of you using this basic faucet, we've now put something up that is going to get the attention, or we change a light. You know, if you're scared of color, we could do an accent wall. And so I would say it's not around frills. Design is really around the space reflecting you and how you want to feel, or how your guests want to feel when it comes in it. You know, so again, there's one thing to be single and then you invite people over and they're like, oh, he's single, versus, dang, did you guys see his space? Yeah, I went to the bathroom. Oh my God. You know, and that's not around. I mean, we could do a black wall and it comes out to a point where people are talking about that. We have a black bedroom, you know, and people are like, oh my God, black. But you know, go to the website, you can see it. And it's around, you know, just black accent and not being afraid of color.
Yeah, this black bedroom. I saw it on Instagram and I was like,
yeah, that looks like my bedroom.
I was like, that's not the bedroom that we sleep in. That's another bed. I was like, where's the bedroom? It's upstairs next door. Is that?
You put my house on.
Right. So that was another space of, you know, he hates wallpaper. I wanted an accent wall. So I was like, well, let me just put it up. And then when he sees it, he's going to see it's amazing versus the 2 hours we would have had to go back.
But I never walked in the bedroom once you've done it. So when I saw it, I was like, damn, that's nice. Where is that? Oh, that's upset.
Oh man, my brother.
Yes, this is my husband.
But
yes.
I also tell people that, when we're buying stuff, it's not always expensive. Even though it looks chic and modern, it doesn't have to be outrageously cost. Like you said, Amazon makes a lot of stuff affordable.
It's dopeness on a budget.
That's right. Oh, no doubt. I mean, and like I said, you can do things that people will think you spend a lot of money on, and it's not even about that, because I think that's, again, goes back to the execution. So if you don't take time to plan out your project and you kind of just throw something up, it's going to read that. Even if you spend thousands of dollars for a light. Yeah. So just around planning it and just making smart choices with your money.
Awesome.
From that standpoint.
So let's kind of scale it down to where, that house, Charles' house. I said that. In the Eagles Landing. That's 8,500 square feet, right?
Yes.
That's what, 7-8 bathrooms. So we changed all fixtures, all light fixtures, everything, everywhere, right?
Shout out to Charles.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, thank you, Charles, because it was exciting to not have a budget.
Right. Shout out to Charles.
But he gave us a budget of, he told me it's gonna be 20 stacks. He's like, here 20 stacks, get it done. That was what it is. Yeah. But when you scale it down to the average person house, if your house is only 2,025 square feet, then you're talking about a third or less than that, and then you're not getting he wants some higher end stuff. So then you're talking about that number comes down significantly. So you can do your 3 bathrooms, 4 bathrooms for maybe $2,000. $3,000 at the most with labor.
So this is the corporate in me. It depends, depending on the project. So I don't want that to go out and be like, well, Chelsea, you can do this for $2,000. It really depends. But to your point, you do not have to invest. If you could see something, and I think it goes back again to the picture. Like you might be looking at a high end, picture. And it's right. So what, I like this modern fixture. It might not be that fixture, but we'll find something comparable. Right. That you're still excited about it. But versus this, these fixtures we were looking at were 2,000 plus. It might be $120. And it might be where you spend your money. Because that's another thing is, where do you want to spend your money? Is it on your fixtures or this? Right. Exactly. Right.
Because you want people to pay attention to, I would assume that you want people to pay attention to whatever you're going to focus your money on.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Exactly.
Right. But you want to tie everything together. So once that catches on, you're like, damn, they got that too.
That's dope. That's dope. All right. Well, look. Again, this is Real Talk with DP and Dev, right? Real estate, entrepreneurship, artistry, and life. And we have just been blessed with a gem today by Chelsea. Let's clap it up. Thank you.
Yay! Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So listen again, before we wrap up, again, Chelsea, where can the people find you?
So we are on Instagram at Chavis Concepts Designs. We also have websites, chavisconceptsanddesigns.com. And again, all the links are there. And if you have some time and not as addictive as I am to Twitter, TikTok. We are on TikTok at See My Designs.
You know, there's an algorithm that makes people addicted, right?
Oh, I know. It's ridiculous.
DP, what you got for the people before we wrap up?
Thank you for showing up. Thank you for listening, and get at us because so we want to make your life easier and better.
Absolutely, and as I always say, in all that you do with positivity, creativity, and authenticity. This is Real Talk with DP and Dev. Peace, beautiful people.